Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face. Hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's gonna be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my weekly wrap up. This is on week 20, which is from May 14th through May 20th, and all my reading shenanigans in between. And I'm just be straight up honest. May is kicking my ass with all the stuff we have to do this month, so I did not complete a lot this week either, just like the previous week. But I do have some stuff to talk about. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, let's get talking some books. Okay, so last week I had not completed anything. This week I did complete something and I started another book. So some progress, but not as much as I want to. Like I said, May is just literally, I have something every single weekend in May, and that's when I get a bulk of my reading done, is usually on the weekends. Or in the evenings, but because of all the stuff I'm doing on the weekends, I have to get all my weekend stuff done during the week, and then I can't read in the evenings as much as I want to because I'm exhausted and I'm spending all my time making shirts, cleaning the house, I made 4 different kinds of brownies yesterday in the morning. 4 different variations. All of them turned out awesome. We had my daughter's 8th grade graduation party on Saturday because she graduated from 8th grade on Friday. So those 2 days were completely taken up. And then all the days up to planning, getting cheesecakes ready, making t-shirts for us and everything. And yeah, so it was a good time, but I did complete something. And the book that I did complete was The London Séance Society by Sarah Penner. Now, I read this for the Red Witch and Bitchin' Book Club, but I didn't have it finished when we met. Only one of our members actually had it finished, so we'll probably talk about it more in depth in our next meeting. We are not meeting in June because their months are all jammed packed full of crap. So June is kind of one of our skip months, and then we have another meeting in July. So we'll probably talk about this one and whatever book we end up picking for July. However, this is my second Sarah Penner book that I've read. I read her Lost Apothecary, I want to say 2 years ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. It had a really interesting take on the way she was telling the story, this back and forth element, and she does it again in this book. Now, this is a standalone, and we do have LGBTQ representation, historical fiction, triggers for murder, paranormal experiences, mediums with seance practices. So if that's something that you're not cool with because you've experienced some creepy, spooky shit in your life, you're gonna see it in this book. So for me, that's not a trigger, but it might be a trigger for somebody else. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that during the seances, some really spooky, really creepy things happen. And this is also told from multiple POVs. We actually have 2 POVs to be specific that we fluctuate between. So for starters, I gave this book 5 stars. Granted, as long as it took me to read this book, I love this book. When I was in it, I was engrossed. I didn't want to put it down. I just had all this other shit that I had to get done. So it was very sparse the times I could go pick it up this month. But this thing was stellar. I had such a good time with this book. Really, really recommend this one. This was my book of the month pick in March. So I was very happy that not only did I get a book a month book down, but it was also a stellar one. Usually when I pick up those books, I never have any issues. They have great selections, and I've been very, very lucky. I don't think I've read a single one from the book of the month selections that I have that I didn't like. So I love this program. I think it's fantastic. And so far I am batting 1,000 with all their books that I picked. Now, a little bit of summary about this book. We follow Lena Wilkes, who starts studying under, I think how you say her name is Valdine. I think that's how you say her name. Valdine Dallaire, to learn, Valdine Dallaire is a very well-pronounced, well-famous medium, and Lena Wilkes wants to study under her so she can learn to conduct a seance and somehow contact her sister who was murdered. Now, her sister did study under Valdine as well. Her sister was more of the spooky chick, for lack of a better description, and Lena was more the scientific one. You need to physically see it to believe it kind of girl. So you have these polar opposites, but because of her sister's demise, she wanted to know. So she thought maybe if she understood her sister's love and kind of sixth sense for the otherworldly beings and third eye elements, stuff of that nature, she could maybe contact her and understand what happened to her. So Lena starts studying under Valdine. And during a seance, Valdine receives a letter that Mr. Morley, the VP of the London Séance Society, sends her, explaining that the president of the London Séance Society, who is a former acquaintance of Valdine, has been found murdered. And they want her to come and lead a seance to find out who the murderer was, or to help track them down. And Valdine has worked with police before when all their leads had run up empty and dry, and they just couldn't, basically cold cases, and she was able to figure out the perpetrators and bring some sense of justice to the family. It never specifically says if her revelations ever caused jail time for the people that she had divulged, but at least the family got some sort of peace because of it. So she did have quite a reputation for this. And the London Séance Society, the reason why this is so crazy that they're requesting her is the London Séance Society is strictly male only. It is a male-run organization. Females are not allowed. And so to have the request from a VP from a female medium, that's a big fucking deal. And so begrudgingly, Valdine does go back to London. She left London under odd circumstances, and she only comes back after Mr. Morley confirms that she will have protection for her life. So she comes back to London, is going to leave Lena to her family because that's where Lena is originally from, but Lena sticks around. So they end up doing this seance together. But once they get back to London and they realize, and they get to London Society where they're basically hidden away in the broom closets because females are not allowed, all of these revelations start popping up. All of these really weird coincidences. And we start learning more and more about what happened on that All Hallows Eve night when the president was found murdered. Now, also, the sister was found murdered on All Hallows Eve as well. So there is a lot of intrigue. There's some thriller elements in this, a lot of suspense. This is historical fiction, but this is very suspenseful historical fiction, and it was fucking awesome. I had such a good time with this book. There's so much stuff that really, really worked in this book. So much stuff. The mystery thriller plot line just kept you intrigued and kept your page turning. And with the switching back from multiple POVs, one from Lena and one from Mr. Morley, the way you are learning of these revelations, majority of them hit perfectly. The revelations to these thriller elements just, they were timed so epically. She did that in The Lost Apothecary as well. The revelations and the timing she was on point with. But it does, this multiple POV element does definitely lend itself to the strength of this storyline, because when you're getting one revelation through one storyline, you're seeing the other side of the coin through the other one, and you're like, oh. So it's like each revelation has a dual purpose, and that's really, really a fun element in this story. I had a really, really good time with that. I really loved Lena's character, our kind of main heroine. I really, really enjoyed her. I loved watching her growth from being a skeptic to being this like ultimate believer in the otherworldly, the realm of the spirit realm, all this other stuff, because she starts off as like a geologist kind of style girl. She likes rocks and fossils, things she can physically look at and timestamp and date and everything of that nature. She was very, very analytical in nature. And so to see her open up this kind of like unknown element and start accepting the unknown and just having this faith based on and belief in Valdine, it was so fucking cool to watch that arc and that growth. It's done really, really well, and it's done so minutely, like it's little minor changes that if you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss those. And so if by the very end of the book, she's like a believer and you're like, what the fuck? But if you pay attention, you start seeing her where she starts to change a little bit and you start seeing that growth. So definitely really fun, kind of like subversive kind of arc, but it was done really, really well, and I had a really great time with it. I loved her loyalty to her sister. She was loyal to her sister from page 1 all the way to the end. There is some points in the book where she starts to maybe waver a little bit, and a little bit of some of the stuff she's finding out and some of the revelations we're finding out. You see it start to waver just a little bit, but she still holds on to this last kernel, and it's so cool to see the twist ending, how it resolves with this loyalty element that she has to her sister throughout the entire story. It was really, really a good time. I had a really, really good time with her character. Thought she was great. I loved her arc. I loved her delivery on things. I loved her struggle. Her internal struggles were fantastic with this reality versus faith concept that she struggles with the entirety of the story. Her sexuality struggles, really, really enjoyed those. I love the way that they were displayed, especially within the Victorian time period. I fucking adored that. I thought it was great because lesbians did exist in the Victorian time period, but they were very hidden. They couldn't talk about it. They couldn't be seen. And so to see it really utilized in this kind of cloak and dagger sort of thing, it was almost a parallel to the cloak and dagger main plot line. Very, very cool. Very, very cool comparisons and parallels for the story. Loved it. I loved how she was a fighter. She did not give up. She was relentless. And I love a relentless female heroine. I think they're fucking badass and they don't take no for answers. And I think it was great. She was awesome. I loved her a lot. The historical references from what I could find seemed to be on point. I am not as up to Victorian seance procedures to be able to speak if they were correct in their usage, but I thought they were really well done. I loved the Victorian mindset. That was definitely there. The difference between men and women and how they were viewed within society, how they were, their rankings within society was definitely there. The stereotypes were there that were held commonly during the Victorian time period in the London area. They were all there on point. The seance stuff, I'm not really 100% sure. I've never been to a seance. I've never experienced one of those, so I have no idea if that stuff is up to code or not. But I had a really great time with them. And so the fashion elements, the societal elements with the LGBTQ representation and how it was influenced and how it was utilized within the story framework, the historical references for it was spot on. I really enjoyed those a lot. For the historical references I could find that I knew about, I thought they were spot on. So I really, really did enjoy those. I also really enjoyed the bringing up of the medium tricks. I have to explain this. I am not a very, I'm Catholic and I'm spiritual, but I am not the spiritual where I see ghosts and have, feelings where there's somebody watching me. I am not susceptible to that. Some people have that sixth sense that there are other spirits walking around and they've had encounters with ghosts. I've never had one. I love spooky shit. I love haunted houses. I love creepy stuff. I fucking love this shit. I've gone on ghost walks and declared haunted cemeteries, and I don't experience shit. But other people do. I don't. I'm not susceptible to it. And I do have friends that do definitely have that kind of sixth sense, third eye, otherworldly layer to them. But I don't have them. So for me, seeing all that stuff is interesting and it's cool. But what I really enjoyed about this book was the fact that they showed both sides. They showed the seance, the real spiritual element with the otherworldly spirits and beings, but at the same time, they showed the tricksters, the ones that preyed off of these people, this belief, and used gimmicks and false candles and ventriloquists and staged things. I saw both sides. And to see how both were convincing and how both could be unconvincing at the same time, I thought was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that because I got a really cool kick out of seeing that duality to the story. what was real and what was not. It was definitely a symbolism for what was real and what was not in this story, this overarching plot line, because you don't really know who did what, who was really being loyal to who was acting on negative behalfs, I guess you could say, on, you know, nefarious purposes, and who was acting out of genuine concern and genuine heart. So it was really, really cool to have that ethical storyline up here with the physical ethical one that you could see here. There was a lot of duality in this story. Really, really enjoyed it. Had a great, great time with it. However, there were a lot of things that worked, but there were some things that didn't work in this book for me. The revelations were great. I had a great time with revelations, but there were some revelations that the way she revealed them, they lost their punch. And there's two big ones that I feel like if she would have had someone else revealed it versus having the character themselves reveal it, it would have had a much bigger punch, because some of those I was just like, what? Really? Oh, well, that was very, very anticlimactic. I kind of lost that like drive and that push on some of those revelations, which was a little disheartening, because I saw her do really badass revelations in this chapter, and the next chapter it's like, well, you just took the whole fucking fun out of it. That was dumb. Like, it was like going through a scavenger hunt and then you find out the clue is something you're wearing. You're like, what? So I've had the answer the entire time? Really? You're just going to give it to me like that? You're not going to make me work for this one at all? It's, you know, it's like she got tired on those, and that kind of sucked, because she did so well in some other ones that these two, and they're big ones, they're big reveals, to have such a lackluster delivery on them kind of sucked. It kind of sucked. But out of all the revelations, there was only two that I found that had that lackluster. All the rest of them were like, bam, I was in it to win it. Let's do it. There was one concept about Lena that I didn't really quite care for. Lena's extremely smart, and she picks up things very, very quickly. And you learn very early on in the story that Valdine thinks that she has the true gift for Séance. Like, this is something, this is a talent that needs to be fostered. It's not something that you can teach. This is the unteachable element that she has. And Valdine, who has the unteachable element as well, said very early on that it took years and years of practice to cultivate how to do these seances safely and properly. And Lena just, I mean, like a fish to water. And you see it in the big climax, and you're just like, wow, that was really, really easy for you, and this is your first time? So it's not like a first time virginity scene. It was just like a first time doing it ever, and it was like spot on perfect. So beginner's luck, I guess, but she was able to do some stuff that Valdine, after years of doing, would never have tried to do either. An expert in this, and it was so easy. It was kind of like that ultimate superhero moment, you know, like boom, perfect, figured it out, savior of the day, moving on. I would have liked to see her struggle just a little bit more in that moment. Maybe something go a little haywire because she wasn't a pro at it, and this was legitimate her first time going through it. So it would have been nice to see some of human error in that rather than perfection. We do have a spice rating in this, believe it or not. It is only about a half a chili pepper. I was not expecting to see enough scenes to warrant a spice rating, but we do have one. Like I said, we do have LGBTQ representation, which is very, very welcome. I love this. I love the way it was done. It was done very, very tastefully, given the time period that it was being represented in. So I really, really appreciated that, because it gave the historical accuracy that this was not accepted. It had to be hidden. This was not acceptable at the fuck all, but yet we still see it in the secret and the quiet moments and the way the characters interact with each other and how they try to hide it to make sure that they weren't subjected to any terror or anything like that for the time period that they were in. And I thought that was really, really appreciative, just kind of giving that realistic element of what women had to go through in the Victorian era that were attracted to other women. I thought that was fantastic. But with this LGBTQ representation, we did have a few fade to black scenes, believe it or not. Very, very innocent, very, very flowery in language, nothing super graphic. But there was a lot of fade to black, a lot of innuendo style scenes, a lot of inner monologues of, you know, arousal states, nothing like, oh, I want to pounce on her right now and go to town. It was more of, I shouldn't be feeling this way, but I do, and I'm going to keep looking because I want to, and that's fine with me. I love the internal dialogue during these fade to blacks that we get. And we did have one actual graphic scene, and it's not very graphic at all. By any shape or form, it's really not graphic, but it is a masturbatory scene with Lena fantasizing about a female counterpart, and you clearly see it stated that she draws her hand beneath the covers, and you get to feel that buildup, and you get a fade to black release. And it's really, really cool because of the way the scene was set up. It was really, really dope. So if you're looking for good LGBTQ representation on a lesbian style side during an historical era, I believe this is a good representation, and you do get a little bit of steam with it. And we get some cool kiss scenes in here, and then the very end is our nice big, yeah, it's good times, good times. So really fun time for that one. I definitely enjoyed it. Again, 5 stars. Definitely recommend this one. This is a good time for sure. I did start a second book this month, and that, or not this month, this past week, and that is Hollow, A Love Like a Life by Jazalyn. And it looks like this. This was an author requested read for a review, and this is a book of poetry, a paranormal romance book of poetry. Now, I am not finished with it yet, but I will be doing a full book review on this one. But so far, I'm really enjoying this. I've read about 50% of it so far, and it reads really fast. You can read it in one sitting, but since I am doing a full book review, I want to take my time with it to make sure I understand the cohesive story of the poems, because all the poems definitely, they're all interconnected. But what Jazalyn does is, although these are all interconnected poems, you definitely can take a poem and relate it to your personal life. So the connectivity can be broken to allow for relation to you as what you're going through in your own personal life. So I really enjoy that. I'm having a great time with it so far. I don't read a lot of poetry, but I definitely enjoy these. There are some definite ones that I'm like, this is a favorite. Hands down, as of right now, this is a favorite poem. I love the way she's writing it. I love the prose that she's using. Her canter, I think is the word I'm looking for. The pace of the way the poem is going, I think it's canter, is going really well. I've noticed through poems when I was in school, the iambic pentameter was very constant for a lot of the poems I read. I don't feel that. I feel every single poem has its own and its distinct voice, so you get to switch it up a little bit, and I really enjoy that a lot. So I'm having a great time, and I can't wait to talk about this in full. And the last book I am still plugging way through is this bad boy. Heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching, okay? It's heart-wrenching. That's all I have to say is it's heart-wrenching, and my heart is going to be ripped out and put on a silver platter and handed to Christina as a gift, as a sacrifice. Like, here, please stop hurting me, but please continue. It's fantastic so far, but I am taking my time with it because there is so much going on in this book. It layers and layers upon things that you learn in Haunt, and it does allow, there's a lot of confusion within it, but it is organized chaos, so that confusion is completely welcomed, and I really do appreciate everything that's going on in the story right now. But yeah, I am taking it very slow. I do not know if I will have it done by the end of May, but when I do, there will be a full book review on this. That is all I got for you guys this week. Like I said, I didn't really complete a lot. May is turning out to be a month that is kicking my ass when it comes to reading, and I feel kind of like a failure, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on this month. I've made a lot of great memories. A lot of big things have happened to me in this month that aren't book related. They're more family related. So, and kind of, family history related, and just bonding moments and all those things, things that I can't ever get back. So I'm definitely glad that I was present during them. So it's a very bittersweet moment knowing about that. That I didn't get to read as many books as I wanted, but at the same time, I am experiencing stories that I will speak about later on in my life as I go through. So just kind of the way of the beast, guys. That's how it is. But I will see you guys all soon with another video.